Steph and I have been married for 12 years. Unfortunately, the early years of our marriage did not go the way either of us had hoped or planned. Shortly into our marriage, I began drifting away from the Lord and began a downward spiral as I took my eyes off the Lord, and I was not loving Stephanie the way God intended for me to. As we were approaching our second wedding anniversary, I made some very hurtful and sinful decisions that ultimately caused a 2-year time of separation from my family. And while I lived out the consequences of my behavior, without a doubt, this was one of the lowest points in my life. It was during this time that God helped me to reevaluate my priorities and the negative impacts of my behavior. I needed the forgiveness and grace that only God could give. Stephanie and I had come to the end of ourselves and finally sought the Lord to carry us through this difficult time of transition. It was a time of utter weakness, and we desperately needed the Lord's help. As we reunited to living in the same household, the Lord helped us to begin building a stronger foundation in our marriage. As I look back over those years, I cannot begin to express my gratitude for God's grace and Stephanie's perseverance, love, and forgiveness. God has shown me I needed change, and I was grateful for the opportunity to start rebuilding our family in a way that God intended.
We both grew up in a broken family and divorced parents, and we never wanted that for our kids. So I made the decision to forgive, but it came with a lot of consequences and pushback from family and friends and even the church we went to. It weeded out our true friends in the process. I had a great group of godly women and coworkers who came alongside me. They would send me scriptures and check on me and took care of us during this difficult time. I had to put my hope in our future and not dwell in the past. I had to let God guide me in every decision I had to make in every agonizing minute.
Fast forwarding to more recent times, I usually feel pretty good when I'm in control of a situation, whether that's working on a car, fixing something at work, or helping the family with dad duties. A few years ago, I was doing whatever it took to bring in some extra income, falsely thinking it was all up to me to solve all our problems. I began taking side jobs outside of work, which consumed all my extra time. This resulted in me spending less time with my family and neglecting my relationship with God. I justified this as doing what I needed to do to take care of my family. Eventually, I started to burn out. No matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't get ahead. I was beginning to go down a slippery slope.
This brought a lot of stress and anxiety that seemed to have no end, since we were not getting that much further ahead. It was an extra burden on me to take care of the most things around the house and raise 2 children, mostly by myself.
Eventually, the Lord intervened. A friend from church asked me to do a side job for him, helping him work on his son's vehicle. After completing the job, he told me of a job opportunity at his workplace that seemed to suit me well. This job had benefits, it gave me more time off, and it was air conditioned. Making a career change was quite a plunge, but little did I know that God had plans for me there. I prayed to God for His strength to guide and direct me in this. By working at this new job, I was able to have more energy after work, spending more time with the family, and becoming involved in serving and helping to lead a CBC small group.
It was very scary for us to think about Danny starting a new job, and with the uncertainty of how this was going to all turn out, I had to let go of my desire to control the circumstances of our life and lean on God's strength during this time.
With my new job came new opportunities for me to go back to school to get a degree. The great news is that my workplace is willing to pay for this education. Even though this is an unexpected blessing, it has once again brought up the stress of maintaining a work, home, church, and now school balance. Of course, I'm still a husband and a dad, and I have those responsibilities too. Stephanie and I are learning to lean on the Lord this time, knowing that, as the Bible says, God's grace is sufficient for us, for the Lord's power is made perfect in our weakness.
I find myself in the position of leaning on God for His strength and make it through the day or even an hour, knowing that God is bigger than just the day I see. Even though I still struggle to rely on Him, I am finding rhythms and energy to do things I need to do. Even though I am not always good at this, I am leaning on saying no to things that I can't just do in this season of life.
In these changing times, it's easy for me to resort back to my old ways, to be tempted to worry and try to take control when I don't see things going the way I want them to go, instead of asking the Lord for His strength or guidance. It's a process that is ongoing, but I'm learning that it's okay because there is hope for resting in His strength.
Our small group and many other people in this church have been so supportive and come alongside us to help in this journey. We are grateful to be a part of this community.
As you think about us, please pray with us and for us as we continue to grow in the Lord by leaning on His strength through these times of change. Pray that we do not fall back on our own bad habits and resist the temptation to take control of the situation on our own. For all y'all who may be struggling through something similar, we find it helpful to remember what it says in 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10. The Lord said, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For when I am weak, then I am strong." Or, as it says in the Message version, "The weaker I get, the stronger I become."